Hey folks, May 24th, 2026, and we are kicking off Garlic Harvest 2026 today, and a couple reasons why. One, here is a picture of a bulb that I pulled yesterday, and I threw a short up on YouTube showing, this is the current state. I'm harvesting one every day, blah, blah, blah. Not too far after that in the same day, I harvested this one. And I harvested this one because it was in the southeast corner of the first bed, and I wanted to throw a sweet potato slip in there. So I needed the space. That's done. I'm seeing that the sweet potato slip roots out. It already had a root system. It was one that I grew out for more slips. But it really wasn't growing much of a shoot at that point, but it still had some roots, so I wanted to put it down there. I do want that first bed to be, I want all these beds behind me, garlic and potatoes, to be sweet potatoes. So I do need to start getting this stuff out of there. So after I finish pulling this first bed, which we're going to do today, and over the next few days we'll do the next 4 beds, I am going to put those sweet potato slips in today because they're really well rooted, and I do want them to get going faster. But once I saw that really big bulb come out, I said to myself, most of these are probably ready to go. So being that we're right now in a bit of a rain time for the last couple days and the next few days, I don't want them to get super muddy, so I want to start pulling them now. So I want to take you for this journey and show you sort of my practices in harvesting garlic. So as we enter through the garden gate, bed number 1 is this garlic bed. And we've got some very pretty blackberry plants in front in 3-gallon containers. And this is the first bed we're going to harvest today. Now, like I said, at the end of this bed, I pulled a bulb right from this spot here. And that was the big one I just showed the picture of. And this little stem here, that's the sweet potato slip that I've transplanted there. It's a Stokes purple, but actually the rest of this bed is not going to be Stokes. I'm going to make it Covington. So I'll probably have about 39 plants in here of Covington and the 1 Stokes. So I'm thinking 40 per bed, 2 rows of 20. That's not what this video is about, but I thought I'd share it anyway. But these, I think, are pretty much ready to come out. They got some good dieback going on. The 2 I've pulled look like they had cloves separating nicely. So yeah, I'm ready to pull this bed and get the next practice started. So let me go ahead and show you exactly how I like to harvest. And my practices, I guess, are a little unconventional, but they seem to work out well enough. And yeah, let's get cracking. And after we harvest, I've got this little tray set up. I say it's a tray, kind of a drying rack. It's just a chicken wire scabbed onto some 2x4s. It's about 8 feet long, 2 feet wide, resting on these sawhorses. I've got a second one of these. When we fill this bottom one up first, then we'll go ahead and stack the second one on top. I'll leave it out here. It's pretty well covered from rain. We do have a roof. Does it have a little bit of a few holes in it? Probably. Can I drape a tarp over top if we're going to get rain on top of these things? Yeah, I can do that. So yeah, this is kind of how I'm going to keep them outside, drying, getting a bit of airflow and curing before they go in the house. So typically when people harvest, I don't want to say typically, what I see a lot of people do when they harvest, they usually pull all of their bulbs, they set them out to dry and cure, and then they go ahead and start breaking them down. I don't do that personally. I pull them, I break them down, and then I go ahead and I cure them in pretty much what their finished state is going to look like, save for the soil, because I do not wash them after they come out of the ground. But for that process, we use a utility knife and pruners. And let me show you exactly what I do. I got 2 containers to my left-hand side. I've got a larger Sterilite container for the greens and the roots, which are going to get composted, and then I've got a smaller container for the actual root, which is going to go into the little rack that I showed you that I set up with the chicken wire and the 2x4s. So let's go ahead and pull this guy right here and show you what happens. Now, whether I do this all in the garden or not, I might just pull them all first, take them under cover. Well, let me go ahead and, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself. I grab the stem relatively close to the soil line, and then I gently wiggle it out. And we've got what I think to be a pretty nice looking root. Now at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my utility knife and I'm going to get a lot of that root out. And you see that little dark spot there? I'm not a fan of that. So what I'll typically do is take my knife and shave that off. I don't know what that dark spot means, but it gives me a little bit of the creeps when it comes to, is something living in it? Is it gonna infect the rest of the bulb? So anything I can get out of there that looks kind of off, I get rid of. But now the basal plate's cleaned off. And then, now I can leave this root right here on the ground to decompose, build some soil in the pathway, or I can take it, put it in my little container, and throw it through the shredder or directly into the compost. And now I take, and that's it. This guy goes into the bin, and this guy, what I'll typically do is take just a little bit of this outer paper, well, it's not even paper yet, it's still very fleshy, off, just to kind of clean up the bulb a bit. How much you decide to leave on is up to you. I say leave a little bit more on than less on, just because you really want to give it a better chance of storing. Now my fingers are kind of dirty, they'll clean off, but in the end, this is what we wind up with. I feel good indentations there, so I feel pretty good about this guy cloved out at this point. Really good sized bulb. I mean, compared to the size of my fist. Yeah, happy with that. So that's my process. Like I said, I take it out of the ground, clean up in the garden itself, and then this will go into the storage rack to dry over the next probably 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the temperatures. And once all of this flesh basically turns to paper, it'll be a lot easier to clean off. The flavor should mature up, and yeah, he'll go inside for long-term storage. So we'll show you one more before we tackle the whole bed. Again, just grab low, give it a little bit of a wiggle. You don't want to snap the neck off of the actual bulb itself. Another good sized bulb. And we've got a lot of soil built up on him right now. And then I take my knife, and like I said, I'll probably pull all of these, take them under cover, and do this process more assembly line style, but just start cleaning off that. And I don't need to get every little piece of root, but now you can see that plate looks pretty clean. The head's gone. And now we just start peeling a few of those layers off just to get some of that messier debris away. And I mean, another good sized one. Again, maybe it's not quite as indented as I want it to be at this point. I can see a little bit of splitting in here though. Like right there was actually a split in the paper. So it's telling me these things are probably ready to come out. I mean, I guess maybe I'm gonna be a bit early from a size standpoint. Not overly concerned about that. Really just want to get them out to get the space for the sweet potatoes. And just in case there's anything that can attack these things in their later days, in the latter days of their maturity, I'd like to get them out for that reason. So yeah, that's my process. Now I get to clear this bed and get some sweet potatoes planted. How you doing, baby girl? Yeah, me too. So yeah, that's all it took to pull these out. I will say right now, I know from the last 5 years that I've harvested garlic that this bed yield was probably the best I've had so far, as with respect to how many bulbs were coming out of the ground of what I would probably consider to be jumbo size if measured. We've got fans and spectators. Actually, no, they're just doing their own work. They don't care what I'm doing. These three right here came out small, and someone in here came out a little too quickly without that much of a root. So I'm wondering if it might be this one right here. You see how little bit of root was there? Something may have been eating at him a bit. It looks like there's a little bit of a kind of a fungusy thing going on here. Some of it's just mycelium. But either way, it came off the root a little too, out of the ground a little too easily, which makes me think that something might have been eating at the base of that one. But as far as size goes, these are huge. And I think the reason why they are is because when I was breaking my bulbs into cloves back in October, and I broke them all into individuals, which you do, but then I subsequently pulled all the paper off of them because I wanted to go through a hydrogen peroxide water solution soak to try to kill garlic mites, because I've had an issue the last couple of years with storing these things. And while I was doing that process, I actually was weighing each clove on our kitchen scale, and anybody who was 6 grams and up made the cut. Anybody 6 grams or lower did not. They made it to the fridge for eating. So through that process, I probably did wind up planting all of my largest cloves, which should in turn yield my largest bulbs, and that seems to be what's happened here. Whether or not that truly does work out in the same fashion for all of these, because they were all treated the same way, may or may not work out that way. If I pull a bunch of small ones out of here, that just tells me that there's a chance that the nutrition in this bed was just for whatever reason better than the rest. So this is a nice big bulb. However, that streak right there might be indicative of a pest issue that's kind of getting it. And that one for sure has something going on funky in there. I'll bring these inside, dry them on the windowsill, and they'll be fine once I break them down and start eating. And then this is our tub of cleaned. We got everything done so far, and all I got to do is dump those into the storage rack, show you what that looks like, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do next. Alrighty, folks. This is round 1. So this is bed 1 of 5. I think not one of the bigger beds as far as quantity goes. So yeah, we've got, I'll say about 20% of the harvest so far is this. I've got some first team all-stars here in size. I mean, this is huge. I've got a handful of these that are like that in here, so I'm not going to have any issue finding big bulbs to pull for seed garlic for October's planting. So hopefully this stuff cures out and there's not too much of an issue with it. But so far, I'm really pleased with how this one's turning out. It's a bit of a process getting it all cleaned up and set up, but I got a couple more days. I'll knock the rest of it out, and yeah, worthwhile project to take on. So that's all we're going to do today, garlic-wise. Tomorrow we're going to pick this back up and harvest some more. Probably 2 beds tomorrow, 2 beds the following day. But right now it's on to shooting a video for sweet potato planting, because we just cleared that bed and something's got to go in it. So until tomorrow, take care. So it's really just a few hours later, folks. After we got those other ones cleaned up from the garlic, we are going to go ahead and get this next bed up, because I just shot the opening scene and planting of the sweet potato slips, and I kind of want to continue that process, but I cannot until I move some of these plants out. So yeah, let's get set up, get these pulled, and then I can start shooting, then I can continue shooting this video. So that's really what it's going to be: harvest, plant, until we're all set up with these beds being sweet potatoes. And the only thing that's going to stop that progress is the lack of sweet potato slips that have full maturity, because after I pull these beds, if for some reason some of the slips that I have by the time I get to this point aren't as mature as I want them to be, I'm not going to plant them just yet. So this bed may rest for a couple of days, weeks until that happens, but then we've got to get these ones pulled up in the next couple of weeks, and then we've got more slips that hopefully mature up so that we can fill those beds out as well. 14 sweet potato beds in total is the plan. I was thinking 8 Covington, 3 Murasaki, 3 Stokes. We'll see how that works out. But why am I talking about sweet potatoes when this is a garlic harvest video? Let's get back to it. And these are now pulled. And I will say, folks, I think my earlier statement was right. And the first bed that I pulled, I think the yields per bulb out of this bed were bigger than this one. When I was pulling these, there's a lot of good sized ones in here, but I'm willing to bet that my average size bulb out of this bed is smaller than the one behind me. Not sure why. They all went in the same day and they were not sorted in any way, shape, or form. No clue. It'll be interesting because I'm going to throw the same number of sweet potato slips in here as I did over on this one. And if the yields on this bed are actually depressed versus the one to my right, that would be kind of interesting. Not sure what I'll do coming out of that. When the sweet potatoes come out, they will get recomposted, both beds. So there's nothing, I'm not going to change any practices for it, just kind of a neat observation. And with that, 2 of the 5 beds are cleared. And I think we're going to go ahead and call the video done at this point, only because you've seen what I do. And all right, folks, I lied. Today's still the 24th, and I just went ahead and cleared them all. Now, I haven't got them all processed yet. I did chop the greens off of every single one, and gold star to me, I ran them all through my shredder successfully, so that project is actually done and dusted. All I gotta do is get to all the rest of the roots, and like I said, use that utility knife, slice them all off, and then put them over into the little holding bay. So what I did after removing the greens, I just took all of the bulbs in their current kind of dirty form with the roots attached, and I tossed them on a table in a different outbuilding, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you that now so you can see what I'm looking at as far as the next project goes. And here they all are. This doesn't really, I mean, when they're kind of dirty like this, it really doesn't give you an idea of the scope of work that I've got to do. But, you know, we got plenty of good sized ones in here too. I will say this though, I was right. That first bed was actually a lot stronger in yield, at least size per bulb. There was a lot more kind of medium to large with a couple smalls here and there. But I will say later this October, at some point during this process, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sort out the ones that I want to save for seed for October. Come October, I'm going to take everything that I've got for seed, I'm going to break them apart. Obviously you do that, but I am going to start weighing the cloves, and everything 6 grams and up versus 5 grams and down, 6 and up, 7 up, they're all going in because I had very few small ones versus prior year. Prior year, every big bulb that I had, I would go ahead and break apart, and irrespective of clove size, they went in the ground, and I would get out of 600 bulbs harvest, probably anywhere between 40, 50, 60 small ones, just because even a massive bulb like this can still have, 2 really thin cloves. And I'm thinking more and more that it seems pretty obvious, but maybe it's not always true. But for this little 1-year observation, not experiment, but observation, I am going to say that clove size has a huge impact on bulb size. And with that, we are going to close out 2026 garlic harvest. Yes, I still have some more work to do. Yes, it still might not store because of garlic mites. All of that is a conversation for another day, randomly in a vlog. But for right now, I think we accomplished what we set out to accomplish. We harvested everything. We got those beds cleared. We got 1 sweet potato bed planted. And now, if I have enough time for today, I may do, heck, all 4 of the others. So yeah, don't let me hold you any longer because you probably have work you got to do. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Take care.